There's a famous scene in Reminiscences of a Stock Operator that goes something like this. In the early period of his career, despite all his efforts, Jesse Livermore had achieved limited success trading. At times he'd make money, but he just wasn't making the killing he thought he should be. He had heard about a man named Partridge, who supposedly was very rich and had made a fortune in the market. Wanting to improve his returns, Livermore decided to spend some time observing Partridge to see how he traded. Customers would come from far and wide to seek out Partridge's advice. Regardless of whether the person asked if they should buy or sell a stock, Partridge's response was always the same. He would turn his head and say, "Well, this is a bull market, you know." Time and time again, he would give this simple advice, and yet deliver it with so much confidence you'd think he was giving out some complex secret wisdom that only the brightest minds at the world's finest institutions could understand. Livermore became skeptical of Partridge, believing him to be a fool, since he was giving everyone the exact same advice. At first, hearing Partridge's conversations with the customers at Fullerton's shop did not have much of an effect on Livermore until he began to think of his many past failures trading in the market. Then it hit him like a lightning bolt, realizing the genius in Partridge's advice. Livermore declared, "I think it was a long step forward in my trading education when I realized at last that when old Mr. Partridge kept on telling the other customers, 'Well, you know this is a bull market,' he really meant to tell them that the big money was not in the individual fluctuations, but in the main movements. That is, not in reading the tape, but in sizing up the entire market and its trend." To further illustrate this concept, I want to tell you about a little trip I took a few years back. In 2020, my girlfriend and I took a quick vacation north to a quiet little lakeside hamlet in upstate New York. On the main street in the center of town, there was a tiny little shop that sold snow cones, or what they called Hawaiian shaved ices. These simple yet tasty treats had an impression on me, and I found myself visiting this shop each night while on my stay. Now here's my question for you. Let's say the shopkeeper is making a killing in the summer, as all the tourists flock into her shop night after night. With her confidence at a new all-time high, she does some quick calculations and decides to expand her operation. She takes her profits and uses them to come up with all sorts of new and exciting flavors. With all these complicated recipes, she's just certain she's going to make a lot of money over the next few months. How do you think this will turn out for our budding entrepreneur? She did so well in the summer, and now with all her new and fancy flavors, she's bound to make millions selling her snow cones in December and January. Don't you think her expanded operation is a fantastic idea? Anyone with any sort of business sense realizes this is a terrible idea. See, her success was largely due to the overall conditions. Small cash business in a northern lakeside town in the summer when lots of tourists pass through. It doesn't matter how hard she works or how good her recipes are. If she's trying to sell snow cones in December, it's just not going to work because she's fighting the headwinds of the general conditions. That is, a tourist town that's out of season. People are just not going to want to travel north to be by a lake in the winter, and the demand for snow cones will certainly fall drastically as real snow hits the ground. It doesn't matter how good the snow cones are. There just isn't the need for those tasty treats in the depths of winter. But this is exactly the trap most traders fall into. They make huge returns during the big bull market. Rather than recognizing they found themselves in a hot market, they begin to get arrogant, thinking they are the next Wall Street genius. Just like our shopkeeper, they begin to think of new and complex trading systems to implement, and they ramp up their trading just as the bear market steps in. The truth is, it doesn't matter how much you love a company or how phenomenal their product is. Even if they have fantastic earnings and sales, the stock is going to have a hard time going anywhere if the general conditions are against it. That is, if we are in the midst of a bad bear market. Take Apple in 2008. They had one of the most innovative products ever, the iPhone, and everyone loved it, and yet the stock fell drastically during this period of time. It's not that there was anything wrong with Apple or Steve Jobs. It's just that the overall general conditions were holding the stock back. Like tourists leaving town for the winter, fund managers just didn't have much appetite for stocks during this time. Same thing goes with Tesla in early 2020. The stock fell drastically in February and early March, and then went on a historic run into 2021. What changed during this short period of time? Did Elon Musk totally alter the company? Did they release their first electric car during this time? No, it's just the general market conditions changed. Once the Fed came in with a supportive policy, stocks became very attractive, and Tesla, with its strong earnings and sales, soon became the apple of many institutional eyes. Paul Tudor Jones once remarked, "There are times when every market has a story to tell, and you have to train yourself to be both a great observer and listener, or you will be too late to enjoy the full story that will be told." That's really what Jesse Livermore meant when he said big money was not in the individual fluctuations, but in the main movements. That is, not in reading the tape, but in sizing up the entire market and its trend. Every day I wake up and I ask myself, what type of market is this? What has been working and what has not been working? And honestly, many times what's working is actually cash. But people just can't accept that. They need constant action, and the stock market is far too exciting for them to step away from. Trading is a business, but it is a seasonal one. Failure to recognize the big picture is a fatal error many traders make. Trying to buy stocks in a bear market is just not going to work. Trying to fight the overall current is a fool's errand. But when greed takes a hold, it can often seem like an impossible task to heed the market's warning. Instead, you have to have some patience and learn to sit out when conditions are not favorable. Keep your stock buying contained to bull markets and never, and I mean never, attempt to sell snow cones in December.